You first need to open the video that is being streamed live. Look for the chat box on the side or bottom of the video player. This is where you can type your message. Click inside the chat box and use your keyboard to type out what you want to say. You can type words, use emojis, or even ask questions. Once you've typed your message, press the enter key on your keyboard or click the send button. Your comment will then appear in the chat for everyone watching the live stream to see. If you want to send another comment, just type it in the chat box again and press enter or send. Your new comment will show up below your previous one.
Podcast and view it anytime later using the link to the YouTube channel. My panelists today are Desmond Richards and Mary Grange. Our guest is Patrick Maitland. Please feel free to comment during the program or send your comments and suggestions later by WhatsApp to 876-503-9995. We value your feedback. So much news in the last few days, and we can't do justice to it all. But we have to start with the pardon. As everyone knows by now, US President Joe Biden has pardoned national hero Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I want to thank all those Jamaicans who have at different levels lobbied lawmakers and influential people in the US to get the pardon for one of the greatest black men that ever lived. We'll return to Garvey. Some of the other important matters we want to at least mention, if not take on in this issue, and there are so many in this episode, there are so many. PNP is falling out with Lawrence Rowe and his allegations about bribery. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck seeming to suggest to parliamentary colleagues concerning the Integrity Commission that they could break the law. The pullback over taxing foreign imported food, the Auditor General's searchlight on social assistance programs, and the doubling up and tripling up over housing for the very poor and the needy. And since it's the start of the year, Mary Grange will help us consider some resolutions. So let's get right into it. We begin with national hero, the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who was pardoned today, Sunday, January 19, by US President Joe Biden. Now, Mary will read for us basically what the US President said.
Message from the President of the United States, Joe Biden, says, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, says Marcus Mosiah Garvey, 1887 to 1940, was a renowned civil rights and human rights leader who was convicted of mail fraud in 1923 and sentenced to 5 years imprisonment. President Calvin Coolidge commuted this sentence in 1927. Notably, Mr. Garvey created the Black Star Line, the first Black-owned shipping line and method of international travel, and founded the Universal Negro Improvement Association, which celebrated African history and culture. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. described Mr. Garvey as the first man of color in the history of the United States to lead and develop a mass movement. Advocates and lawmakers praise his global advocacy and impact and highlight the injustice underlying his criminal conviction.
Thank you, Mary. And that pardon has been received well around the world, not just in the Black world, well around the world for this distinguished Jamaican national hero, this distinguished man, this Pan-Africanist, and all the many other things that we can say about him. Now, Prime Minister Andrew Holness was one of the leaders receiving this news in favor. Mary, do you have that as well? At least the first
Yes, I
two paragraphs.
do.
Prime Minister. Go ahead.
Prime Minister Holness has this to say. Today, the government and the people of Jamaica proudly welcome this historic decision of the government of the United States of America to grant posthumous clemency to our nation's first national hero, the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, 1887 to 1940. This is a momentous step toward righting a grave historical wrong committed against one of the most significant civil rights leader and Pan-Africanist in history. Would you like me to continue? Garvey, a son of the soil, was unjustly convicted of mail fraud, which was already said by the United States. I'll conclude as Prime Minister Holness said, consider this clemency a first step towards the total exoneration and expungement of the historic injustice.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Now, the opposition leader also had something to say, and I think we have that in audio. Joshua? Joshua, do you have the opposition leader's audio?
Until Joshua comes in,
Okay,
Mr. Mack.
let me just read that first two paragraphs from the opposition.
I acknowledge Mr. Goldin has to say, opposition leader Goldin. I acknowledge this with pleasure, President Biden's exoneration of Jamaican national hero and Pan-Africanist, the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who was arrested and imprisoned in 1923 when he was convicted of mail fraud and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Appeals followed, and Mr. Garvey was imprisoned from 1925 to 1927 as U.S. President Calvin Coolidge commuted the sentence and had him deported. Marcus Garvey's exoneration corrects a great historical miscarriage of justice that resulted from an illegal intelligence-led operation designed to disable the influential 20th century Pan-Africanist movement, the Universal Negro Imprisonment Association, UNIA, that had captured the imagination of hundreds of thousands of people of African descent. President,
thank you very much, Mary. Thank you very, very much. Those are just snippets. Those are just the first part of the messages of both Mr. Golding and Mr. Holness and Mr. Golding. Mr. Holness, Prime Minister Holness, and Opposition Leader Mark Golding.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mary. Desmond, welcome. What was your first impression, Desmond, when you heard this? Pardon today.
Yeah, but that's a 20 foot where you can maneuver.
Desmond, are you there? Are you hearing us?
Hello?
Desmond, I'm not sure you're hearing us. Are you hearing us?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, I'm hearing you.
Move by the other plan, trying to pick up
Yes,
your
I was asking you what was your first impression when you heard the news today?
You done?
What? No, what did you just repeat what you said?
Some background feed. There was some background feed from your surroundings.
No, it's not done. Yeah,
there's some background feed you need to get rid of from your surroundings.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say that this is such an important, a very important occasion, a very important movement in this Garvey matter. And I know that there are some people who are saying that well, this is not an exoneration and making all sorts of statements like that. Desmond, your background is in the way. Your background is getting noisy. Patrick, yes. Maitland, are you hearing us?
Yeah, man, I'm hearing you.
Okay, I wanted to know how you felt when you heard this this announcement today.
Well, you know, a few things here. One is that the this man Joe Biden.
Go ahead, Patrick. We're hearing you.
Yes, I'm saying to you, Joe Biden.
Oh man, he's having problems with this.
I'm hearing you.
Go ahead, Patrick. We are hearing you. Go ahead.
Good. I'm saying to you that Joe Biden and Obama, you know, these guys are so much of a letdown and truly do not believe in what was happened to Marcus Garvey. It's rumored that Trump was planning to pardon Garvey, and so they just
Come on, Patrick, say that again. You are saying that
it was
Obama
rumored
should have done it.
Obama should have done it, the first black man to become president, and there were intense lobbying. I know of several rounds of lobbying that took place, and this man, along with Obama, they do anything else to with some little frivolous people, and even this particular pardon, you notice him link it up with some two little criminal that really his party friends them. Him link them up with Garvey. 3-4 people in pardon one time with Garvey, right? And they were all in different category. Garvey is in a different category. The so-called crime of Garvey was totally different from the two little do them that him link Garvey with, right? And it shows.
I will agree with you on that, Patrick. That the other people, the other two people, what's it? Five pardons and
5 people.
Yes,
Yes.
I would agree with you that Garvey is sort of out of the scale of those other people.
Yes, definitely. But you see, it is just show how fake Obama, Biden, and many of these Democratic leaders are. They are really, really fake. And, for years, that's what they do to black people in America. They just use us.
Patrick, that is a Trump line you're running there, I know that you're
not Trump line. Not Trump line. These guys are fake. If you look at how they treat the black population in America, right? If you look at it, many of the things that they do is just surface. That even at one time, Kamala was saying that, I don't have to do anything special for black people. Yet they do special for the gay and lesbian people. They do special things for the Jewish people, right? They segment it. But anything for us, it don't have to be special because if I do something special for you, everybody benefit. That's not the case. So
I should tell viewers and listeners, Patrick, that you live between Jamaica and the US and New York.
Yes.
What's the general sense that how would this be greeted? I know it's new, but how would this be greeted in the diaspora community?
Yeah, a lot of people think it was a good move, but too late, and they did expect it to be done a long time. But as I said to you, it was strongly rumored that Trump would have done it because in the last year, a lot of lobbying was taking place. And
Trump supporters line, Patrick. Trump supporters line.
No, I'm telling you, it would have happened. He had. You see, one of the things you have to understand, the amount of ordinary people that Trump pardoned, black people, for different crime, right? He's a crazy guy, we know that, right? But he would have done it eventually. So they pick it up and they say, "Rated, and we have to do it," and they just barely do it in the last minute.
Trump is a racist.
Well,
President Trump.
You could say Biden.
Leave out Trump and start with Garvey.
No, but
President Trump is a racist.
Biden is a racist too. If you look at the early stage of his development in the 90s, all the laws that he passed, at one of the time he said he don't want his kids to grow up in.
I don't want the accusations about Trump and Biden to.
All of these guys are racist.
My disappointment with this. My expectation was that Barack Obama would be the president who would pardon Garvey. And to my astonishment, he did not. As a matter of fact, one of the things that when we look at Barack Obama presidency, he has done very little for black people in America. But the decision by Biden to pardon Garvey, welcome decision, is something that should have been done decades ago, because I have had the chance to read that court case. It was a trump-up case against Garvey. But
politically motivated and set up.
Yes. And so we welcome the pardon for Garvey. And what I am looking for is that what is going to happen to black people, the Garvey's work, what is going to happen to black people under Trump leadership? He takes over tomorrow. Let us watch and see.
Well, I think it's no more of a danger than under Obama and Biden. You see, what you have to understand this, not because a man might hit out against certain things and he look racist. It's just how many Americans operate. All the white men in America, you can see that all of them have bits of racism. I don't know where you are, right? But all of them, and Trump is no different than Biden. I'm telling you that. And if you look at many of the things that Trump has done over the years for black people and what Biden has done, you could say all of them do something, and you could say all of them are racist. I'm telling you.
All right. I just want to move on from this, but just to say that Desmond was saying, let us look at what black people are going to do under Trump. Desmond, what about what is going to happen? What we are taking from this moment? We in Jamaica, where there's so much that doesn't resemble Garvey at all, the way we live, the lack of care for one another, the slovenliness about how some people operate, the nastiness in our community. There's nothing in Garvey that is Garvey-like about any of that. The way our thoughts are small, the levels of underdevelopment in our communities. There's nothing to suggest that these are people who have come up from Garvey or who take Garvey seriously. There's nothing there.
Well, one of the things that Garvey was very strong on governance. And one of the things that is happening right now is that the JLP administration is undermining the Integrity Commission that was set up to deal, to provide good governance. You're the Minister of Justice telling his colleagues.
Desmond, sorry, I'm going there, Desmond. I'm going there because we spoke about this. We are going there. But I just want to leave Garvey by saying it is a great move, and I wish that the leadership in Jamaica could take on the spirit of Garvey, not themselves to come up with the big ideas and so on, but at least could impress upon the people who this man was so many years ago, and his philosophy and his thinking doesn't.
Do you see any evidence? Do you see any evidence from Jamaican politicians to teach Jamaican black people about Garvey? Have you seen any evidence of that?
So let's move. None at all. So let's move back to the reality here. Now, the Integrity Commission, the opposition last week, slammed Delroy Chuck, the Minister of Justice, and called for his resignation after he made comments suggesting that he advised parliamentary colleagues to break the law regarding responses regarding the income of spouses and children on their statutory declarations. Indeed, the head of the commission was among persons blasting Mr. Chuck, and I found this statement from the PNP Shadow Minister Donna Scott Motley. This is what she said: the Minister of Justice has demonstrated both a shocking ignorance of the law and a brazen willingness to encourage others to break it. Desmond, over to you.
Well, it is astonishing that the Minister of Justice is encouraging his colleagues to break the law, because all public servants, it's not just politicians, all public servants are required under the law to provide the information about their spouses and children to the Integrity Commission. That is part of the law. And why that was so? Because it was done that way in order to prevent unscrupulous politicians and public servants from hiding illicit enrichment in the names of their wives, spouses, and children. That is why it was done. And so, for the Minister of Justice,
Desmond, that is very understandable, isn't it? I mean, that people have done this over time. I'm not talking about Jamaican politicians or public servants. I'm just talking about this happening where people turn to their spouses as confidential persons or their children and hide illicit gains in their names. That's done. Yeah. That's going on for a long time, all over the world.
Yeah, but I am dealing with Jamaica. I am saying that the government and the opposition politicians, they are the ones who came up with the laws and rules for the Integrity Commission. They are the one who passed the laws in the parliament. And now instead of encouraging and building the Integrity Commission, you have a set of politicians who are undermining the Integrity Commission because it is doing its work. Totally unacceptable. Totally. Right? And this is something that we must condemn.
Can I make a point, mister? Can I make a point?
Please.
So, you know what is happening to Jamaica many times?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, what is happening to Jamaica? When the politicians make the laws, they tend to make it in a way so that it don't affect them seriously. Now, this is what is happening to the Integrity Commission now, because this is a creature of both the JLP and the PNP. And they make it so poorly. The regulation in many areas are so gray, so that anybody can challenge, anybody can do this. It's not clear. And because of that...
But Patrick, this one is clear, you know. Patrick, this one is clear.
Yes, I
this
agree.
Particular requirement is clear.
I agree, but I'm saying to you that this is why we're having so much issues with it. With the Prime Minister, with this minister, with this parliamentarian, because they realize that there are so many great things, and they purposely put it like that. This thing should be clear-cut, right? And issue come up, it should be clear-cut. Nobody don't need to challenge no court. Nobody don't need to publish anything with no parliament. Once something come up, you do your work. You do your just like if anything with us. You do your investigation. If you work in a government organization, Franklin, and they do their whatever, they don't need nobody to consult with anything. They do all they need to do and publish the finding on Franklin McKnight. Right? Why it have to go through parliament? It have to go through this? No. Do your work. These guys are well paid, you know.
No, because it's a creature of parliament, and it's the parliament is the parliamentarians are the representatives of the people, you know,
yes,
Patrick. Remember that.
I understand that. But just like in other countries like over here, right? And we can compare it because they are getting similar salary and they are getting the laws are similar, right? Just like here, any one of these district attorney do them studies, do them finding. It is sent straight to the whoever need to prosecute it, straight to them, and the victim, whoever the accuser, have to go to court and fight it like anybody else. You know how many politicians over here right now, right, that are in prison because the district attorney just do them job.
You don't see them, Patrick. Them just the Americans just bend up the laws a while ago to sue Trump.
That's a different matter, man. That's different. That one is different. And everything you have to understand.
Yeah, and a prosecutor in New York is basically taking off. A prosecutor in New York is basically taking off, as you know, Patrick, because Mr. Trump has already
because he appointed that person. Because he appointed the person. Anybody appointed, move them anytime. It's a new government coming, so what do you expect? He would have been removed. Whether or not he did something that the president didn't like, he would have been removed.
Well, don't hold out the U.S. system as any panacea for us. Because
no.
The American system is a rotten system.
We have just seen in Pakistan, for example, a prime minister getting quite a few years in prison for taking some bribes with regard to land from some people with some contracts. We have just seen that in Pakistan. We have seen people going to prison in other places. The problem is, Patrick, we have got to be clear, and the people of Jamaica are watching, One of the things that we don't appreciate enough is that the people of Jamaica are watching and they're making up their mind. And part of the making up their mind is why so many of them have stepped away from the political voting process. That is a part of the issue.
Franklin, you know what the problem is? A while ago, you guys came down and criticizing America. All I'm saying, there are strengths in America and there are weaknesses. All Jamaica need to do is to pick the strength from wherever in the world and apply it to Jamaica. No matter with this thing, say, oh, America, this.
I buy that.
Nobody's.
I buy that, Patrick.
Right? And back to this other point again, too. You see, what is happening to Jamaica again, when a particular party is in power, they do things to suit themselves for that hour. After that, they when they got in and it start affect them, you hear them talk all type of foolishness, right? And that is what is affecting the system. The system is not balanced and it is not fair. And it is killing us. And you talk about Jamaican people watching. What you talking about? A little voting coming up? That's nothing to Jamaica people.
No, not just the voting coming up. The Jamaican people are watching over time.
No, they're not watching over no time. They're just voting one and voting the other based on a gut feeling at the time. Because remember, if you look at the various sectors of agriculture at Jamaica, even looking at agriculture, my local area, right?
And we come in here, Patrick, but that is not how the Jamaican people. The reason that you have the less than 40% is that a lot of people have watched, think it's so nasty, and have stepped away from it.
And it's all over the world. We have low voter turnout in America too, in many areas.
We're not down to 37%.
No, but it's low where we have. And
you're not down there, and there are other places. But you are making a point about your sector, which we're going to come to.
This one was high because of the Trump factor, right? It was high because of the Trump factor for whatever reason. But what I'm saying to you, Jamaica people are watching. Watching what? Jamaica people not watching anything. They are so narrow-minded and short-sighted that all they are doing is to just use their gut feeling, move one party to the next without any concrete reason. That's what they're doing. And if you look at the whole Jamaican sector, and you say, how Jamaica people allow this? Because the voters are not intelligent either. They are licky.
The voters in America are intelligent.
No, I didn't say that, sir. Don't watch that.
I'm asking you.
Nobody. No,
I said if the voters in America are intelligent.
No, they're not too. But I'm just talking about Jamaica. I'm not comparing nobody. I'm saying we the voters in Jamaica, we are not intelligent too. All we try to do is to partisan. We spend more time partisaning issues, right? And individuals, when we should have told certain people long ago, say, no, that's garbage. When you look at a cabinet, for example, a lot of decisions that were made in the cabinet, when you speak to these people individually, they say, boy, I couldn't, because you can come out of the cabinet. If you so strongly believe that it's wrong, come out of the cabinet, leave them alone, right?
All right. Patrick, we want to move on from this area to a similar area.
Yeah.
We want to move on from this area to an area of your expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Now, last week, there was a lot of discussion about a proposal made by the spokesman for the opposition spokesman on agriculture, Dayton Campbell, who is also the general secretary of the PNP.
Right.
And who is therefore a high-profile operative of that party. Now, he proposed initially that there should be a tax on foreign imported foods into Jamaica, which tax should be used for some specific agricultural purposes, because the sector is suffering, and everybody would accept that the sector is suffering. There was some quick pushback. The opposition leader said that's not the party's position. Soon after, Dr. Campbell said it wasn't fully taken into context, and he didn't. That was basically not really quite his position either. And then the Prime Minister said it was a dangerous position. And I've read on several platforms economists making an argument that there was merit in that proposal, and that proposal is possibly one of the best proposals with regard to agriculture made for some time. Patrick, I would like your enlightened position on it.
Right.
I'm sorry, and before I must remind you all that Mary is going to take comments in a little while, and she's also going to tell us about resolutions for the new year. Patrick, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So, what Dayton Campbell mentioned the other day has been on the table for maybe 15 years. So, the government, it was a PNP government that came up with the Agricultural Development Fund. And the proposal at the time was for selected food item to be taxed. And that money, portion of that money would go towards Agricultural Development Fund, right? Now, already Jamaica is doing some of that, because in the importation of coconut oil and some coconut products, there is a tax, and that tax usually goes straight to the coconut board. I'm not sure if it still go there, because there was some discussion about moving it. There's also some taxation on dairy products. So that money, and that's going on currently, that money goes straight to the dairy board. Okay? So this whole idea of taxing farm produce.
And the dairy board is subsidizing and rebuilding the sector, which was wiped out, wasn't it?
It's not, no, you don't have to go so far. Don't go so far. It was just part
of been wiped out entirely, but was badly affected, and was still short on milk, on our own local milk, right?
Yes, but the dairy board set up sometime about in the 90s, right? And you see what you have to understand, the government allowed the importation of milk powder starting from the late 80s through what they call the PL 480 program. It was a program set up by the US government to sell off or to give away the excess oil, dairy products, and some other stuff that they were too much supply of it. So what they did, they go all over the world that US has friendly countries, that they give some money. And they say, rather than give you 10 million, I'm going to give you 10 million in milk products. Milk powder was one of the major ones, right? Jamaica government adopted that. And throughout the 90s, they were very strong on it. I remember Lasco started a whole business on the milk powder, right? And there was a whole heap of talk, it's cheap milk for poor people. And because people were looking out against it, to say there was too much milk powder coming in and it was affecting the dairy industry. Today we see what happened. It affected the dairy industry, it collapsed the dairy industry. And so the cess was there from that time, a matter of fact, right? Some cess to come in, and that money has been helping the dairy board. So the problem is, agricultural people and people who they give position in agriculture, they don't understand it very well. And many times they don't articulate and they don't present the facts properly. And as a result...
Patrick, let me just ask you something. I don't want to interrupt you. But let me just ask you something. Isn't part of the big part of the problem? You were just talking about how Jamaican people not looking at the issues and making gut-feeling decisions.
Yes.
Isn't part of the problem that the experts, people who know, people who are in the leadership in the farm sector, for example, the academics in agriculture and the economists in agriculture, isn't it part of the problem that they are not providing any guidance in these matters and telling people what's happening? For example, most people don't know that there's a big tax on chicken parts and so forth.
Yes.
Preventing that from...
Not the parts, the whole chicken. The whole chicken.
Yes.
Yes. There's a 260% tax on it if you bring in whole chicken. So
260%.
Yes. That's what protect our poultry industry for years. If we didn't have that, people would easily bring in whole chicken. Right? But you see what happened, you have to understand this. Once a political decision is taken in Jamaica, nobody can get around it. The people in the Ministry of Agriculture don't need to listen to nobody apart from the cabinet. So if the minister, if you have a bad minister, right, and the minister wants certain things to happen, nobody can talk to the minister. The only person is the prime minister and the cabinet. All right? And that's what happened. And then the influence of the private sector, because everybody want to please the private sector. So the private sector, depending on who is in, they may say, listen, we want to bring in some Irish potato. All right, look at even the lobbying effort of Lisa Hanna.
Hold on. Sorry, Desmond wanted to come in. Desmond, go ahead.
Yeah, but I want to wrap
What-
it up though.
What I want Patrick to not to leave out, that in this, right as we speak now, there are several cabinet, there are several members of parliament, politicians, who are major importer of food products into the country. That is part of the problem.
And you're right. And when a PNP government come in tomorrow morning, there will be a new set of importers who are aligned to the PNP. All right? And so what I'm saying to you is like the lobbying effort of Lisa Hanna. It was clear because she has some interest in the whole importation of food and chicken parts and chicken back and whole chicken. Her lobbying, you can see, it was more geared towards that. Right? So it depending on who is in.
But Patrick, you're imputing motive. She might simply be low food prices for Jamaican people.
No, it is clear because when you listen to the conversation,
she might be lobbying because she wants lower food. I have a long-standing position against the importation of all sorts of things and these people who get these special permits. But I don't have any particular interest. I'm interested in the best thing for the Jamaican people, and I'm asking you if a proposed tax are placed on imported items, whether that could benefit the agricultural sector and drag it out of the poverty, the rural areas out of the poverty that we are experiencing.
It would. And let me explain this to you too. One of the things Jamaica is not doing is to analyze the economy, to say, okay, for this year, we're going to need to import 100 pounds of onion. Okay? And we are only producing 50 pounds. No, we are only producing 50 pounds of onion and the demand is for 100 pounds. Therefore, there's a gap of 50 pounds. And you said to the importers, hey, there's a gap of 50 pounds of onion. Can you import that? And that onion that comes in would have been taxed. It would not have affected the price seriously. Because remember this, the onion is just because of the gap. But what we are doing, we are artificially creating gaps throughout the year. And the economists are not taking time out to analyze the sector. To say, okay, where is the sector now? Where are we? How much of this?
And Patrick, what is happening there? What is happening there as is happening in so many sectors of the society? People with the knowledge, people who are trained, agriculturalists like yourself, many people like people on your platform and people who you know, many people in the ministry, they're not putting forward positions which can assist the Jamaican people. And the average ordinary man on the street, therefore, is leaderless. He doesn't really understand it. And only the political parties put forward their position. So even now that the PNP put forward this position with regard to tax, there are many people I've noticed in economists who are saying there is sense in there, but the PNP leadership itself is running away because they think they might lose votes.
Right. That's right. And yes, and they themselves don't take time out to analyze the sector properly. Right? They don't, because if you look at Jamaica over the years and look at even the whole importation of food, it's basically the same thing with both parties. Basically the same. And you look at export. Export is going down and import is going up.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. Desmond, Yes, Desmond, you have a concern about Your concern is mainly with the people who benefit, the individuals who benefit, or your concern is a broader to the policies?
And Patrick has said this on this program already, that the agriculture is starving. Agriculture need investments. And the governments over the year, they are not paying attention to agriculture. Agriculture is not on their priority list, right? Because if agriculture was on their priority list, then they would do better. For example, because it is election time, the JLP came out swinging against that tax. And what have they done for agriculture in the 8 years? What have they done to make agriculture? Right now, food security is a serious issue in the country. I see where the Ministry of Agriculture announced that this year they are going to be setting up some cold storage facilities. Now let us see if that is done, right? Because what is needed is for us to pay some serious attention to agriculture, invest some money in agriculture, and put us in a position where we can feed ourselves. For example, we should be making more money. This is how we can make more money out of tourism. If we are able to provide the food that the tourists want, then they don't have to import that. Right now, we are not able to do that. So these are the things that we must address.
I don't know about that.
Bill is soaring.
Yeah,
Mary, you wanted to give us some comments and then take on.
No, I'm saying I don't know about.
Sorry, Patrick, I was speaking over you. Just say it again and we switch to Mary.
I'm saying I don't know about we not providing the food for the tourists. I don't think that's a major problem because most of the food that we are importing is not even tourists eating it. If you look at the breakdown of the food import bill, there's not food going to tourism, right? And even during the COVID period, when we locked down, the import food bill was still high, right? What government need to do is to cut back some of the resources they are putting in tourism. They are putting too much money in the airline. They are putting too much money in promoting it. Allow the private sector to drive tourism. We are putting about $15 billion to subsidize tourism. How much?
Patrick, that's another argument, another day for us to digest.
That's not the problem.
Thank you. That's not the problem. Mary, we want to move over to you because we don't want to miss resolutions. We also want
we want to go to the comments first, Sir Mark.
Yes,
today we have Marshally. It looks like our audience is not aware that we returned today, so we don't have our full complement of usual watchers, viewers, but we have Marshally. Hi, Marshally, and we're going to celebrate you like you're all the people in the world. Thank you for joining us today. Marshally may raise a very, very, very important comment where she's saying when Indians, Chinese, and other ethnicities celebrate, official DOM in Jamaica describe it as cultural awareness. However, when proponents of African history highlight our history, it is criticized as racism. A very, very, very interesting take on the conversation, Marshally, because guys, what do you think about that? So it is like two things. We're saying the same thing, but one is applauded and one is criticized as racism. I've never really thought of it in that way.
Thank you. Mary, please go ahead and tell us. Thanks, Mary. Go ahead and tell us about resolutions, Mary, because a lot of people...
We can take up the resolutions next year, Mr. Mac, because I think we're almost out of time. So we'll take up the resolutions for next year. So more than likely, everybody, we're like almost at the end of January. And so one thing I want to say today, because I came with my props, I came with my tools, my pen. I know a lot of people are into their digital things and their phones. I came with my diary, and by the way, this is our product, designed at Jamaica. Just in case you didn't know that Jamaica has a diary designed for Jamaicans. Well, Crystal Cameron Designs, that's my daughter's company, has done it. And I also came with this other prop, a journal designed by her as well, which has won the Jaipur Award for Innovation.
Mary, you
congratulations
take too
to
long
my
to tell us that.
daughter.
We're going to start with you with that next time. You
Yes,
gotta tell
so
us
in the meantime, get your tools so that
and where
next
people
week.
can get it.
Right.
And where and how people can get it. Thank you all for joining us for this,
Yes.
the first episode of Frankly Speaking Jamaica Podcast for 2025. This day is a very important one with the pardon of national hero Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Please remember to subscribe to the Frankly Speaking Jamaica YouTube channel if you have not yet done so. Please share with your friends and colleagues. On behalf of Desmond Richards, Mary Grange, and special guest Patrick Maitland, and a special thanks to you, Patrick, as well as technical producer Joshua Black. I'm Frankly McKnight, and I want to tell you that look out for my midweek podcast starting this week, Wednesday. You'll get it sometime out there. Until then.